Hi there. Thanks for making time to watch this video as we talk about what the best defenders do. They make plays. And in this video, I'm going to give you 4 steps that I think can help you, help your players do just that. Before we get into the 4 steps, let's talk about systems. I'm a big fan of systems and frameworks. That's not to facilitate a cookie cutter approach. Far from it. The players drive their own cars. And this and all good systems help us coaches to be the on-ramps, the guardrails, the street lights that help players find their own way and make decisions. So, this framework is scalable, is flexible, drives focus, yours and your players, and can serve as a filing system for your infield content. We'll come back to these 4 features later. So, our 4 steps to make plays are ready, read, decide, organize. 4 simple steps to make plays that I think can help us coach at any level. Next, I'm going to give you 2 component parts to explain each step. But before we do, it's worth noting that while in formulating this framework, my focus has been on infield play, I think you'll agree that it's applicable to other positions, and possibly even to both sides of the ball. In my opinion, the more we can share language across phases, the more simple that development and performance can become for our players. Moving on, and regardless of what you coach, stay with me as we explore each step. Step 1 is about pre-pitch preparation before the pitcher begins their delivery. We combine knowledge and positioning to be ready to make plays. Step 2 is about identifying the problem. We combine anticipation, which is a product of our being ready, and reaction in order to read the play we need to make. Step 3 is about finding a solution to the problem we've identified. We combine stock and custom solutions to those problems and decide how to solve the problem. Infielders with limited training will have limited solutions, so really won't have much to decide. And now we make plays. Step 4 is about recording outs and preventing runs. The infielder needs to organize themselves to make plays. Listen, it's important now to reference the design of our infield training and the prescriptions our players need to develop and to perform. The important note is that we don't start with our first step to design something, whether it be a practice plan or an individual development plan or a game plan. It'll take us on a road to nowhere, and we'll end up taking a lot of L's. Instead, we should design backwards. Start with the desired outcome and work back to figure out the required steps to get there and add the necessary detail. With this approach, we will score a lot more W's. For example, if I start at the beginning, I can work on getting ready, but I don't have a thorough understanding of what I'm getting ready for. Backward design, meanwhile, offers a sound system to prepare for practices and games on an individual, positional, or team basis. So let's take a deeper dive into the 4 steps. Starting with make plays. Recording outs is the more obvious component of making plays. A simple assessment of all of the types of outs our infielders need to make will inform your training. A next simple step is to determine the frequency of each type of play and match those frequencies within our training. We'll now have a great foundation to create development plans. In broad strokes, we often see infielders spend a disproportionate time fielding ground balls, neglecting the tags, pop-ups, and so on that will also come their way. Preventing runs can be less glamorous, but is of course a critical component to scoring more runs than our opponents. What I love about this famous scene from A League of Their Own is the context of the discussion. Jimmy Duggan was angry that a backside runner was allowed to get into scoring position while holding on to a tight lead. That is run prevention. And it's critical that we help our players develop both the technical skills and tactical knowledge to make plays that prevent runs. I remember hearing all the time as a youth player, leave your feet, save a run. A wonderful reminder that keeping the ball on the infield is one of many ways to help our team win without recording an out. I think hits compared to other QABs is a great analogy here. Getting hits isn't the only way a hitter can help their team score runs. We celebrate the QABs. On defense, if recording outs is the equivalent of getting hits, then preventing runs is the equivalent of other types of QAB, and our players should know how they can contribute to them. Now that we know all of the different plays that we can make, we can look at the solutions to make them. In terms of planning training for our infielders, consider a spectrum of skills and techniques from the most stock or textbook to the most custom. With that knowledge, we can consider the frequency I've already referenced and determine our practice priorities. As an example, this is a fairly stock solution for a relay, which resulted in an out at home plate. Our infielders will throw like this much of the time, with their feet set and with distance and direction to the target. Meanwhile, Jeter was throwing on the run, also to nail a runner at the dish. A good infield coach knows that throwing on the run should be a component of their catch play program, but is most likely going to feature less often than will stock skills and techniques. Lesson: players are going to make plays that are spontaneous. They'll make unique plays we might never have practiced. But what we as coaches can do is provide the tasks and constraints that develop the skills, techniques, internal clock, and IQ that end up coming together as a custom solution. Task yourself to increase your players' solution space. With an understanding of the different solutions that can be used to make plays, we need to know how to identify the problem in the first place. I've used a football example to illustrate anticipation and reaction coming together during the prep step because I want to inspire you to take some time to find the same principles in action on the baseball field. The goalkeeper here will no doubt have learned information about the shooter's tendencies prior to the game, and we see a great example of that anticipation blending into a reaction to make a save. This example also shows an athlete in the air for contact, which reduces perception time and lengthens action time. Let me repeat that. Reduces perception time and increases action time. He makes a one-footed landing, which enables him to organize his body to go where he wants to go sooner than would a two-footed landing. There is no need for a directional drop step if you've already organized yourself to move in a certain direction while in the air. Looking at the stills, we see the goalie loading into his legs, jumping for contact, and the one-footed landing that best evidences anticipation merging with reaction. And we see it in many sports, racket sports perhaps most famously, but also rugby and American football players changing direction, volleyball players, and yes, from infielders. So my task for you is to take a closer look at the prep steps that infielders take, looking for the timing, specifically where they are at contact, and making one-footed landings. Remember this, improving our infielders' ability to read the problem, whether during the prep step or once the ball is in play, will enable them to decide what to do sooner. And the sooner they decide, the more ground they can cover, and the more ground they can cover, the more plays they will make. Having determined all of the problems infielders need to solve and how to solve them and how to identify the problem in the first place, we're now back to the start. What information can help our players get ready to stack the odds in their favor and to put our players in the best position to succeed? On the knowledge side, there is so much information out there. And while this info about all of the grounders Mike Trout hit over a 4-year span already gives us some clues about what we can do to get him out, we're just scratching the surface. We can get much more granular and factor in not just outcomes against certain pitch types in certain counts or versus left and right-handers, but against our pitchers. And all of this knowledge, of course, informs where our infielders should be positioned in order to have the best chance of making plays. The challenge many clubs and programs may face is in not having the multitude of technology that have professional clubs, but the opportunity is that we can put together some world-class scouting reports, given the frequency at which those same clubs and programs often see the same opponents. As coaches, it's our job to put our players in the best position to succeed. Excuse the pun. So some diligent work to acquire and share knowledge is well worth the time. So to wrap up our 4 steps to make plays, how are these steps scalable? Well, you can add to each step as much or as little as fits your level, as fits the age of your players, as fits your style as a coach, and as fits the resources available to you. How are they flexible? Well, you can define and modify within what I think is a robust framework. All right, leave each step named as it is, but change everything underneath it. Entirely up to you. How do these steps drive focus? Well, they can pinpoint development and performance priorities. So, for example, if we didn't make a play, is it because we weren't ready? Is it because we misread the play? Is it because we decided on the wrong solution? Is it because we organized ourselves too late? And over a growing sample size, you're really going to be able to pinpoint the areas that will enable you to individualize your defensive training. And how are these steps a filing system? Well, there's so much information out there. You're going to hear so many ideas, new drills, new stats, new metrics, and sometimes it's hard to figure out how that information helps you help your players. All right, I think with this system, you're going to be able to figure out where that new information or that new drill fits within these 4 steps to make plays. And now you can use that information to help you help your players make plays. Thanks for making time to watch this video. Happy coaching.